If this audio is messed up, I'm sorry. I'm trying a new mic technique. Hey guys, welcome. I am going to do a little get ready with me story time. I'm going to do this look. I will list everything I use in my description. And I hope you enjoy my little story time and learn something from my mistakes. So, we've all hopped on dating apps, at least for the most part, correct? And I know that when you get on these apps, most people are looking to hook up, especially on Tinder. I downloaded Tinder and I downloaded Hinge. Tinder, people would actually match with me just to say stuff like, this is just a hookup app, right? And I was like, not always. And me personally, I was not looking to hook up. I was looking to date. I was sick of the round and round with hookup culture, and I was just ready to find my person. Ask me now if I would hop on a dating app again. I'm not sure. So I hop on Tinder and Hinge. And while Tinder is not treating me very well, Hinge isn't going too bad. I actually end up on a couple of dates. However, come New Year's, my date bails. I don't have too big of an ego. I can handle when someone else will cancel. I'm also a single parent, so cancel, that's fine. Life happens. I'm the queen of understanding that. And because I'm dating around, I decide to hop on Hinge and see if anybody else is free. It's New Year's. I want to go on a date. I match with this guy. We'll call him Mark. And Mark wanted to hang out ASAP. And I'm like, perfect. Let's hang out. And he says everything I want him to say. I'm so serious about a relationship. I want like a family. I want to settle down. Music to my ears. Given I'm new to like this dating app scene, I've been out of it for a little bit and I haven't hopped back in years, so it's like different for me now. So I'm ready for this date. I'm excited. And given I say it's New Year's, but I mean like it's the night before New Year's Eve. So I had some time to prep. So the night before, I decide we're gonna talk for the night and like kind of get to know each other a little better. I'm asking him like, what do you do for a living? What's your job? He starts telling me how he drives for like this city, and I'm like, cool. So we're talking about our careers. But then he starts asking me like some pretty invasive questions. He starts asking me like about my kid, which is my number one no-no. I'm very transparent on my dating apps, and I will say that I have a child. I won't name like a gender, age, anything like that. I just don't want anyone involved in my child's life unless I'm getting married. So he starts asking all these invasive questions about being a parent. And at first, it didn't seem invasive. I just thought he wanted to know like how's being a parent. Is there drama with your kid's dad? Anything like that, reasonable. But then he's like, oh, like, I want to meet your kid someday. How old's your kid? And I was like, that's weird. But I was like, maybe he has a kid. So I asked him, and he's like, no. I was like, okay, well, I really don't talk about my kid. So can we move on to the next topic for now? And he seemed to be fine with that. And sometimes you do just have to tell people, like, I don't want to talk about my child. You just give them that boundary, and it's okay. But this man starts going in on, like, I want to start a family with you. And I was like, I thought he was joking at first. Like, how sometimes on dating apps, men will be like, oh, like, when are we getting married? Like a joke. I was like, why don't you just take me to dinner first and then we'll talk like a joke? And then he like got upset and he's like, no, I'm serious. Like, I want a family with you. I want you to delete your dating apps. No. So it's pretty nice, but I was like, if that's, what you're looking for, maybe I'm not the person for you. Like, I kind of want to know what's out there. And you don't really know me that well yet. You don't know if I'm a good partner. And he just would not take that. He starts asking me like why I wasted his time, why I even bothered matching with him, and I'm like, because you said you wanted to settle down, I want to settle down. So I'm getting ready to block this guy. And then he goes, like, oh, I'm sorry. Like, I take jokes too far sometimes. I'm like, okay, weird. So I'm like, okay, well, I just don't think I'm like the person for you. And he's like, no, I'm so sorry. I promise I'm like a cool guy. Like, I totally do. And I'm like, okay. So I was like, I'll let him take me to like one dinner because I want a date on New Year's. But like, that's it. But then he starts talking to me about what side of town we're gonna go to dinner on. And he's like, what side of town are you on? And I was like, well, I'm like on northeast side. Before I continue, you should know I should have blocked his number right away. I was like, what were you thinking? I do have a child to keep safe, and like after this instance, I have been, first of all, I have not been back on one single dating app. I'd rather die alone and know my kid is safe. So I am aware. So he's like, oh, you're northeast. And I was like, yeah. And then he goes, oh yeah, you're off this and this street. How do you know that? So I'm looking through the app. I'm looking through Hinge. And I now see that on the agreement when you start Hinge. So let me backpedal. I started with Tinder, right? And on Tinder, when you start an account, it'll ask you to allow your location, but only so that they can find the area you're in and people can know the roundabout area you're in, not the exact location, which normally I'm cool with, right? But in this instance, like, I'm looking at Tinder, Tinder's not giving my exact location out. What happened was when I got Hinge, because I already had Tinder, I figured they're the same thing, so I allowed location services without reading too much into it. And Hinge, this is literally my lesson to everybody: read every little fine print when you're on these things. Hinge allows your exact location. And I'm not sure if they've changed it since I was on it. This is years ago now. You know, my child is much older now. This is years ago. But he was able to pinpoint my exact location through Hinge. And I'm sorry, but that's terrifying. So immediately I block him. I'm freaking out. I'm like, oh my God, my child and I are so unsafe. I'm already telling myself all the things I know my friends are going to tell me, like, why would you do that? You're an idiot. Why would you give out your location? I know. And then my stupid self, like, starts to think, oh my God, he's going to be so angry when he sees I blocked his number. What if I just play this the right way? So I temporarily, like, unblock his number, and I'm like, oh, like, it's actually just a friend's place I've been staying at. It's not like my house. Like, I don't actually live there. I was just staying there for a while. Meanwhile, I'm like turning off my location services on everything. So he buys it, or at least he pretends he does. So I proceed to bail on our New Year's plans. I tell him that I'm stuck with no sitter and that I can't get away for New Year's. Sorry. You know, he's frustrated, but he's like, okay. And I was like, well, maybe you'd be best suited with somebody like without a kid, like someone that's available, because I can't be available all the time. And he was like, why did you hop on a dating app then? And I'm like, I don't really know. I shouldn't have. Like, at this point, I've deleted my apps. I'm freaking out. I'm done. I'm done with dating apps. Okay. Every night I'm going to bed anxious. I'm looking out my window. Every time there's a car parked, I'm freaking out. And of course, I'm too embarrassed to tell my family this, right? Like, I'm such an idiot. And he continues to essentially beg to hang out. And I'm doing like everything I can. Like, my kid's dad came back into his life or something. I'm like lying, okay? Because like, this is like my life. Like, I'm freaking out. It's my child's life. I'm really freaking out. So at this point, he's growing more and more frustrated with me. And I'm basically like, homie, can't take a hint here. And it sucks. I'm looking over my shoulder everywhere I go. I'm freaking out a little bit. I have like no guidance on what to do. So I block his number, block him on everything, finally, because, you know, at this point I had been such an idiot about it. And he's immediately pissed. He's trying to call on different numbers. He's trying to text me on different numbers. He's trying to make different Instagram accounts to find me. So I like break down and tell one of my guy friends, and he gets involved. And he essentially tells the guy, like, leave her alone or you'll deal with me. But this guy's like not intimidated by that. He's like, okay, and I'll deal with you. So then my friend's like, dude, you gotta like tell somebody. He's like, you gotta tell your family, you gotta tell somebody, because like, you're not safe. But my family's really uptight about that kind of thing. So I was really scared of them freaking out, which, like, who cares at that point, right? I know that now. So finally, he seems to lay off, okay? Months go by. And I'm still scared, you know, I'm still looking over my shoulder everywhere I go. And yes, I changed my mind mid eye makeup on what I wanted to do with my eyes. I'm practicing like a little Valentine's look. So months go by. I start feeling relaxed. I get a phone call one day from this like unknown number. I'm like, not thinking anything of it. It was a like area code that I'm in, so I answer. And it's him. So now I'm in a full-blown panic. I block the number he called me on, and I'm still trying to keep it low-key, not letting anybody know. So y'all remember man who canceled plans with me for New Year's, right? He and I start seeing each other. He had to cancel that one time, and then we start seeing each other. So I'm like, you know what? Let me open up to him a little bit about it. So I confide in him. I tell him what's happening. And of course, like any rationally thinking person, he's like, what is wrong with you? Why would you like keep this going for this long? And I'm like, I'm trying not to. I'm just trying to be safe. And thinking in turn, I'm really shooting myself in the foot here. So he gives me some guidance and he's like, you should just block him on everything, threaten to call the cops if he keeps trying to get in contact with you. So I do just that. And it does not go over well at all. Our little stalker homie Mark is not happy with that. So at this point, I have no choice but to tell my family. Like, I have to just tell them. And of course, they're the same logical thinkers, and they're like, what the heck is wrong with you at first? But then they cool down and they're like, okay, like, we're gonna make sure, like, this guy doesn't bother you. Luckily, at that point, all communication seems to cease. However, now I'm permanently paranoid. And everywhere I go, everybody I meet, I'm so overly cautious, which I think isn't too bad of a thing, but at first I was way too far. Like, way, like, I wouldn't go out, basically. Now, when I tell you, 8 months goes by almost. Nothing. I'm still paranoid. Every time a car stops in front of my house late at night, I'm flipping out. And then in comes my first ever TikTok account. I may start making TikToks. I make a TikTok account and somebody follows me under like a weird name. It's just like some TikTok name, like it's a bunch of letters and numbers, and I'm like, whatever. But I didn't have like a lot of followers. I only had like 100, a couple hundred, you know, like it wasn't like anything crazy. So I pay attention to everyone that follows me. And I started liking all my posts, and I'm like, oh, it's nice. But then it said like this, like it's like people you may know. Like that's why this person followed me. Weird. So naturally, my paranoid self was like, who could this be? Could this be my worst nightmare right now? So I go to block this person on TikTok, go on their profile, boom, just uploaded a profile picture. It's him. So of course I'm freaking out again. And I'm like, why, dude? Like, why me? Like, not to be down on myself, but like, I'm not some irresistible freaking person. And my now like boyfriend at the time was like, I don't know how to help you because we were long distance. There was really nothing he could do for me. And then all of a sudden, all these Instagram accounts start popping up. He's like really trying to get back into my life. And I'm like, I make all my accounts private. Every little one, my Facebook, my Instagram, every little thing private. Block all those accounts, do a whole filter through all my followers and who I follow. And I'm like freaking out. And mind you, he had tried to message me on Instagram and say like, I don't know why we don't talk anymore. I miss you so much. Like, I could give you a few reasons. So then it goes quiet again, and I'm like, this is the last time I'm gonna let it go quiet before I go to like the police, because I'm keeping record of everything. And while I have not heard from him since, I'm paranoid everywhere I go. And if I did decide to, no location access at all, ever. Here's my finished look. Let me be an example for everybody out there getting on any sort of dating app. Just be so careful. I learned my lesson. The most important thing to me is keeping my child safe, keeping myself safe, and I really fumbled that back then. And I have not heard anything from him since. But I get so paranoid. I will not sleep like alone. Like I cannot live alone. I am so paranoid all the time. Anyways, thank you for watching my story time, and I really appreciate any of you guys that watched. I will see you next video.